The movie begins with Bob talking to his lawyer. The lawyer tells him, "It doesn't matter who you used to be. What matters is who you want to become. This new life is completely in your control, and getting custody of your son is the perfect chance to start fresh." Bob thanks him, hangs up, and goes to wake up his son Tony for school. But it's clear Tony can't stand his father and doesn't like living with him. Bob asks, "Are you going to keep giving me that face every day?" Tony replies, "When I lived with Mom, I had the freedom to go anywhere I wanted. Now I feel like I'm in a prison." Here we learn that Tony's mother and grandmother died in a car accident, and custody was transferred to Bob. Bob loses his temper and tells Tony that all of this is happening because of the state of the country, and he's only being strict because he's afraid for him. Tony gets upset, throws the breakfast Bob made into the trash. Bob snaps back, "I'm trying to turn a boy into a man. As long as you live with me, you'll respect me." Tony gets scared, says he's going to school, and Bob watches him until he disappears down the street. We then see Reggie with his friend Coop, planning their next job. After that, we return to Bob in a supermarket buying groceries. Two guys come in, insulting an old man in line and cursing at the cashier, who's scared of them. Bob steps in and says, "Watch your language." One of them pulls a gun on Bob, but before anything happens, their leader enters, slaps the kid with the gun, and says, "Do you even know who you're talking to? This is the most dangerous man you'll ever meet. If you see him anywhere, you'd better stay away." Bob doesn't care, pays for his stuff, and leaves. But the gang leader follows him and asks, "When did you get out of prison?" Bob answers that he was released 6 months ago. The man is shocked. They were supposed to be close friends. He asks why Bob never called him. Bob replies that he's under supervision and needs to stay out of trouble. Bob gets in his car and heads to work. Meanwhile, Reggie takes his father Leo and younger brother Tom to a factory called Pluton. Leo explains that the factory produces different machines, and platinum is used in the process. Tom mentions that platinum is more expensive than gold. Reggie then reveals that a huge platinum shipment worth $10 million will arrive today and be stored in a big vault inside the factory. The most important thing is to stop the guards from hitting the alarm. If the alarm goes off, a huge block of concrete will drop onto the vault, making it impossible to steal. They ask Reggie where he got this info, and he reveals he has an inside man in the factory. Leo mocks him, saying the plan is impossible and could get them all killed. At this exact time, Bob arrives at the same factory. We realize he works there. A coworker greets him, saying he's late as usual. We learn Bob and this man are old prison friends, and that Officer Joe helped Bob get out early to work in the factory. On TV, news breaks about a massive case shaking the country. A group of white cops brutally beat a black man driving at night until he died. Luckily, someone filmed it. The cops were arrested, but the trial is still ongoing. Black communities across America are protesting, demanding the death penalty for the officers. Joe tells Bob that cops like those ruin the reputation of the police and abuse their power. Bob goes back to his job melting platinum for machines. Meanwhile, Reggie tells Tom not to be upset about what's going to happen. Tom says he just wants to help. Back home, Tony returns from school while rioters are smashing cars in the streets. He locks himself inside. Then comes breaking news. The white officers have been acquitted. The entire black community erupts into violent protests. People with guns flood the streets, killing cops in revenge. Reggie sees the chaos on the news and decides this is the perfect moment to rob the factory. The factory owner gathers workers and says, because of the unrest, they can leave early to check on their families. The insider informs Reggie that the factory is closing and the guards are leaving. Reggie rushes to get his crew ready. At the factory, Bob convinces Joe to let him bring Tony there for safety, since their neighborhood is now dangerous. Joe agrees. Meanwhile, Reggie meets Leo, who has two racist thugs bullying co-op. Reggie tells Leo these two are useless, but Leo insists they're his protection. Reggie agrees to give them a cut. Bob struggles through riots to get Tony. He finds the neighborhood filled with armed gangs, panics, and rushes to his house, only to discover Tony isn't there. He desperately searches outside. The gang moves in on the factory, knocking out the gate guard and tying him up. Joe doesn't notice on the cameras because he's in the bathroom. They storm the factory and run into Joe, offering to let him live if he cooperates. But Joe reaches for his gun, and Leo shoots him. Reggie explodes in anger. They had agreed not to kill anyone. Leo argues losses are inevitable in such a job. Bob, still searching, finds Tony participating in the riots. Furious, he grabs him and drags him away. Inside the factory, the gang reaches the vault, setting up equipment to crack it. Outside, rioters attack Bob's car, but Bob single-handedly beats them down with his bare hands, even though they're armed. He unloads their guns and tosses them in the trash, impressing Tony. Tony admits he's proud his dad fought them unarmed, but Bob tells him his greatest fear is that Tony grows up to be like him. Tony replies, "What's wrong with being like you?" Bob is shaken, realizing his son looks up to him. Soon after, racist cops stop them at a checkpoint. They let a car of white people pass freely but harass Bob and Tony, searching their car and humiliating Tony. Tony expects Bob to fight back, but Bob stays calm. He doesn't want to return to prison. Tony breaks down in tears, feeling abandoned. Back at the factory, the gang blows open the vault and starts moving the platinum. Bob arrives and notices the missing guard. Tony goes to the bathroom and is confronted by Tom, who holds him at gunpoint. Entering, he finds Joe dead and picks up his gun. Bob runs into Leo's men and gets into a bloody shootout, wounding his arm. He hides, pulls a power cable, then stabs one attacker. He sneaks up on Reggie, knocks him out, takes his gun, and disables their getaway truck by removing a key part. Meanwhile, Leo threatens Tony, beating him. Tony lies, claiming he's only there because riots made it unsafe to go home. Bob questions Reggie, telling him that Leo killed his black friend in cold blood. Reggie is horrified, unable to believe his father would do that. Leo orders Tony to be bait. "Bring me my son, I'll give you yours." Bob and Reggie meet Leo at the arranged spot. Leo demands the missing truck part. Bob agrees to trade his son for Leo's, but before Leo can harm Tony, Bob shoots at him. A brutal gunfight breaks out. Tom is fatally shot. Reggie tries to save him, but it's too late. Bob escapes with Tony and the injured Reggie in the truck. Leo chases them. During the firefight, Reggie is shot and dies in Bob's truck. Distraught, Bob crashes into another car, flipping over. Leo arrives, furious at the platinum spilled all over the road. He executes his own son Reggie in rage. Then he approaches Bob, intent on killing him, but suddenly multiple gunshots hit Leo in the back. It's Tony, shaking, terrified, holding the smoking gun. He just killed Leo. Bob rushes to his son, hugs him tightly as Tony cries in his arms. Bob drives away with him and the film ends there.